A bizarre 6-inch skeleton discovered more than a decade ago in an abandoned town in Chile's Atacama Desert was once rumored to have extraterrestrial origins. But a new analysis published on March 22, 2018 in Genome Research stamps out any remaining questions about the specimen's home planet. It's without a doubt an earthly human. After 5 years of genomic analysis, Gary Nolan, professor of microbiology and immunology at Stanford, and Atul Butt, director of the Institute for Computational Health Sciences at the University of California, San Francisco, have pinpointed the mutations responsible for the anomalous specimen. The researchers found mutations in several genes known to govern bone development. Some of these molecular oddities have never been described before. Butt said, "To me, it seems that when doctors perform analysis for patients and their families, we're often searching for one cause, one super rare or unusual mutation that can explain the child's ailment. But in this case, we're pretty confident that multiple things went wrong." It's an indication, he said, that looking for a single mutation or even mutations that are already known to cause a particular disease can discourage researchers from looking for other potential genetic causes and, in turn, potential treatments for patients. The skeleton, nicknamed Ada, was discovered more than a decade ago in an abandoned town in the Atacama Desert of Chile. After trading hands and eventually finding a permanent home in Spain, the mummified specimen started to garner public attention. Standing just 6 inches tall, about the length of a dollar bill, with an angular, elongated skull and sunken, slanted eye sockets, the internet began to bubble with otherworldly hullabaloo and talk of ET. I had heard about the specimen through a friend of mine, and I managed to get a picture of it. You can't look at this specimen and not think it's interesting. It's quite dramatic. So I told my friend, "Look, whatever it is, it's got DNA, I can do the analysis," Nolan said. With the help of Ralph Lockman, clinical professor of radiology at Stanford and an expert in a type of pediatric bone disease, Nolan set the record straight. Their analysis pointed to a decisive conclusion. This was the skeleton of a human female, likely a fetus, that had suffered severe genetic mutations. In addition, Nolan saw that Ada, though most likely a fetus, had the bone composition of a 6-year-old, an indication that she had a rare bone aging disorder. To understand the genetic underpinnings of Ada's physicality, Nolan turned to Butt for help in genomic evaluation. He accepted the challenge, running a workup so comprehensive it nearly rose to the level of patient care. Butt noted that some people might wonder about the point of such in-depth analysis. He said, "We thought this would be an interesting exercise in applying the tools that we have today to really see what we could find. The phenotype, the symptoms, and size of this girl were extremely unusual, and analyzing these kinds of really puzzling old samples teaches us better how to analyze the DNA of kids today under current conditions." To understand the genetic drivers at play, Butt and Nolan extracted a small DNA sample from Ada's ribs and sequenced the entire genome. The skeleton is approximately 40 years old, so its DNA is modern and still relatively intact. Moreover, data collected from whole genome sequencing showed that Ada's molecular composition aligned with that of a human genome. Nolan noted that 8% of the DNA was unmatchable with human DNA, but that was due to a degraded sample, not extraterrestrial biology. The genomic results confirmed Ada's Chilean descent and turned up a slew of mutations in several genes that separately or in combinations contribute to various bone deformities, facial malformations, or skeletal dysplasia, more commonly known as dwarfism. Some of these mutations, though found in genes already known to cause disease, had never before been associated with bone growth or developmental disorders. Knowing these new mutational variants could be useful, Nolan said, because they add to the repository of known mutations to look for in humans with these kinds of bone or physical disorders. He says, "For me, what really came of this study was the idea that we shouldn't stop investigating when we find one gene that might explain a symptom. It could be multiple things going wrong, and it's worth getting a full explanation, especially as we head closer and closer to gene therapy. We could presumably one day fix some of these disorders, and we're going to want to make sure that if there's one mutation, we know that, but if there's more than one, we know that too." One thing's for certain is that these skeletal remains that were rumored to be alien are now confirmed to be human. Still an interesting story nonetheless, and something to at least analyze.